You decided to visit the supermarket late at night, hoping to pick up a few essentials you had forgotten earlier. The store, typically bustling with activity during the day, now felt eerily quiet. The fluorescent lights above flickered intermittently, casting long, unsettling shadows across the aisles. The hum of the refrigeration units was the only sound, creating an almost surreal atmosphere. What was usually a familiar and comforting environment now seemed strange and unsettling. As you walked through the deserted aisles, the usual buzz of the store was replaced by an oppressive silence that seemed to amplify every little sound. The normally bright and welcoming shelves now appeared stark and uninviting. The cheerful displays of colorful products looked cold and distant under the harsh lighting. The sense of normalcy was gone, leaving you with a growing feeling of unease. With every step, the quiet seemed to grow thicker, and the shadows on the floor lengthened, creating an almost labyrinthine effect. The store, once a place of routine and predictability, now felt like a different world. The familiar layout was disorienting, and you found yourself second-guessing the aisles you had once navigated with ease. The store's ambience was unnervingly different, as if it were holding its breath, waiting for something. You tried to shake off the discomfort and focused on finding what you needed. But each aisle you turned into seemed to stretch longer than the last, and the usual markers of time and place were lost. The once comforting environment now felt alien and hostile, as if the store had transformed into an unfamiliar, almost menacing place. As you continued shopping, the sense of isolation grew stronger. The store, which had always been a mundane part of your routine, now felt like a place out of a nightmare. The silence, the dim lights, and the seemingly endless aisles combined to create an atmosphere that was both surreal and unsettling. It was clear that this was no ordinary late-night visit, and the sense of unease was just beginning to unfold. As you continued through the supermarket, the strange atmosphere seemed to grow more intense. You noticed that the products on the shelves began to shift and rearrange themselves in subtle, almost imperceptible ways. A box of cereal that had been neatly aligned now sat at a slight angle, and cans of soup seemed to have moved from one spot to another. At first, you brushed it off as a trick of the light or an overactive imagination, but the feeling of unease persisted. The more you observed, the more pronounced the shifts became. Items on the shelves appeared to be repositioning themselves as you walked by, creating a disorienting effect. The once familiar layout of the store seemed to be changing, with products popping in and out of place as if guided by an unseen hand. The orderly rows that had once been so reassuring now felt like a labyrinth of uncertainty. The odd occurrences didn't stop at the shifting products. Occasionally, you caught glimpses of movement out of the corner of your eye, only to find the aisles empty when you looked directly. Shadows on the floor seemed to twitch and ripple, as if reacting to your presence. Each strange event heightened your sense of disorientation and anxiety, making the supermarket feel like a living, breathing entity with a mind of its own. You attempted to find some sense of normalcy by heading towards the dairy section, but even there, things seemed off. The usual coolness of the refrigerated section felt unnaturally cold, and the bright lights flickered sporadically, casting erratic shadows that danced across the walls. The once reliable hum of the refrigerators now sounded like an ominous drone, adding to the growing tension. The more you explored, the more it became apparent that something was fundamentally wrong. The supermarket, a place once filled with routine and predictability, had become a disorienting maze of shifting products and unsettling shadows. The strange occurrences left you feeling increasingly unsettled, as if the store was actively trying to disorient and unsettle you. It was clear that this was no ordinary shopping trip. As the night deepened, the unsettling atmosphere of the supermarket became even more pronounced. The store's usual warmth and comfort were replaced by an eerie chill that seemed to seep into every corner. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered erratically, casting strange, shifting shadows that played tricks on your eyes. The store's once vibrant colors now appeared muted and unnatural, adding to the sense of disorientation. Walking through the aisles, you found it increasingly difficult to gauge how long you had been there. The aisles seemed to stretch out endlessly, with no clear sense of direction. Each turn you took led you deeper into a labyrinthine maze of shelves and displays, making it hard to keep track of where you were. The store's layout, once familiar and predictable, now felt like a twisted puzzle with ever-changing pieces. The silence of the supermarket grew heavier, amplifying every small noise and creating a sense of oppressive stillness. The distant beeping of a register or the creak of the store's infrastructure felt unnervingly loud in the quiet. The usual background hum of the refrigeration units had transformed into an unsettling drone, further contributing to the store's eerie atmosphere. The sense of time also seemed distorted. The minutes felt like hours, and the usual markers of day and night were lost in the store's artificial lighting. You began to question whether you were experiencing a surreal dream or if the supermarket itself had taken on a life of its own. The feeling of being watched or followed grew stronger with every passing moment. Despite your efforts to stay calm and focused, the oppressive atmosphere of the store made it nearly impossible to relax. The once familiar environment had become a place of anxiety and confusion, leaving you with a growing sense of dread. The supermarket, which had always been a mundane part of your routine, had transformed into a nightmarish realm where nothing felt right. After navigating the labyrinth of eerie aisles, you finally reached the checkout area, hoping for some semblance of normalcy. However, the scene that greeted you was anything but reassuring. The usual checkout counters were empty, and the registers were dark and unresponsive. The self-checkout stations, which you had counted on, displayed cryptic error messages that only added to your growing frustration. You approached one of the self-checkout kiosks, only to find that it wouldn't start up despite multiple attempts. The screens flickered with incomprehensible symbols and warnings, making it clear that the technology was malfunctioning. It felt as though the store was deliberately preventing you from completing your transaction, leaving you in a state of helplessness. The lack of any visible staff compounded the issue. The store, which had once been a well-oiled machine of commerce, now seemed abandoned. There were no employees to ask for assistance or to provide answers. The emptiness of the checkout area, combined with the malfunctioning equipment, made you feel more isolated than ever. The frustration of not being able to complete your purchase was matched only by the growing sense of dread. The checkout area, usually the final step of a routine shopping trip, now felt like a trap. The silent, malfunctioning machines and the absence of human presence turned the experience into a surreal ordeal, highlighting the store's shift from a mundane setting to a place of eerie discomfort. With no other option, you decided to leave the store, feeling a mix of relief and unease. The strange occurrences and malfunctioning systems had turned a simple shopping trip into a disorienting and unnerving experience. As you exited, you couldn't shake the feeling that the supermarket had become a place where normal rules no longer applied, leaving you with lingering questions about what had truly happened during your unsettling visit.